Ashley Latta, the author of 2 books, Don't Wait for the Tooth Fairy, How to Communicate Effectively and Create the Perfect Patient Journey, and You Are Worth It, Feel Comfortable Discussing Your Fees and Achieve the Income that Your Services Deserve. One of the things I'd like to talk about today is the importance of building rapport with your patient. And it reminds me of a story. And the story goes like this. A bunny rabbit's in the jungle one day and he bumps into a snake. And the bunny rabbit says to the snake, he says, "Who are you?" The snake says, "I'm blind, I can't see." And the snake says to the bunny rabbit, "Well, who are you?" And the bunny rabbit says, "Well, I'm blind also, I also can't see. So why don't we touch each other today and then we'll know what we are." So the snake starts touching the bunny rabbit and turns around and says, "Wow, you're all furry, you've got a big tail, bushy ears, I know what you are, you're a bunny rabbit." And the bunny rabbit's excited, he's hopping around, he finally knows exactly what he is. And then he starts touching the snake and he turns around and says, "Wow, you're all slithery. You've got beady eyes and sharp fangs. I know what you are. You're a salesperson." Now, I know it's a bit of a joke, but don't you find sometimes in the past there's been a bad reputation of sales, and sometimes it's had some bad press, which is why one of the most important skills that you can develop is the skill of building rapport. Rapport is so important because without positive, good rapport, there's no trust. If there's no trust, nothing else can happen in the actual consultation. One of my favourite stories from this book relates to a story about a bank, and it's a real lesson that you can take away from the story. Many years ago, a friend of mine came to me, was interested in purchasing a house to renovate, to modernise, do it up, and then to resell again. And he asked me if I'd take part in or be a partner in this project. My part was to take the finance, to finance the project, while my friend John was going to do all the building work. So I contacted 2 banks. The first bank was my existing bank. My bank is for over 25 years as a self-employed coach. And the second bank was a new bank. It's a bank that I've done some sales training with previously in the past. At 2 o'clock, my existing bankers came to see me. And at that time, my office was my basement in my house. They came down, sat down. Within 2 or 3 minutes of sitting down talking to me, one of them turned around to me and said, "So tell me, Mr. Latta, what do you do for a living?" So here's my existing bankers of over 25 years coming to my house. They did not know what I did for a living. And that really, really put me off. So in the next 30 minutes of them being in the house, I'd more or less decided within 2 minutes that I was not going to do any business with my existing bankers. At 4 o'clock, a new bank came. The guy that came to see me was a guy called Brian Hargreaves. Brian came into my office, I made him a cup of tea and became genuinely interested in me. He asked me questions about my business, he'd done his research, he'd been to my website the night before and was asking questions about how I got involved working in the dentistry market. Within 3 or 4 minutes, I had built a really good relationship with Brian and I really liked him. I felt comfortable and we had some fantastic rapport together. The upshot of the story was this. Within 45 minutes later, I'd more or less agreed to do business with Brian and borrow the money from him. Just to put it into some sort of context, I was actually borrowing over £150,000 to renovate this house. Now since then, going back now 5 years, I still have this relationship with Brian. I have a mortgage on my house, I've done a couple of buy-to-lets which I borrowed the money from Brian, I have some life insurance, I have my business account now with Brian, and the other thing I've also taken up recently is a mortgage on this building here, my training centre. And that's because Brian built solid rapport with me. He became genuinely interested in me, finding out more about me as a person, and of course he did his research the night before. So, quick lesson leaving here today. Please spend time building rapport with your patients, particularly new and existing patients. The better rapport, the better the relationship. The better the relationship, you're more likely of getting patients saying yes to your treatment plans.